Hello, and welcome to I guess you could call it the first real episode of Comic Watch, brought to you by Shoot the Breeze Comics, which you can, of course, find at shootthebreezecomics.com. I am Scott. I'm joined by our other hosts, Reed.
My name's Reed Strong, and I have strong reads each and every week.
And Erin.
Hey, guys.
And you might notice, unlike the zero issue that we did last week, that you can see our faces. We are here. You can see us. This is what we look like. This beard is real. So this is Comic Watch.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I know. This is Comic Watch. We talk about comics. We're going to talk about comics that we want to talk about. Some of them are new. Some of them are just going to be stuff that we want to talk about. Some of them are stuff that we don't want to talk about, but we have to talk about just to get it off our chest.
One more issue.
Looking at you, Secret Empire. I can't believe that there's still one more issue. It's supposed to be the last one.
Just when you thought it was fifth week means 5 more issues of Secret Empire.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are all staff writers over at shootthebreezecomics.com. You can check out reviews and news there, as well as some of our other podcasts, which, Erin, you're on one of those, right?
I am. Thought Bubbles. It's
All
an
right.
all-female-led podcast. We occasionally have some dudes that are very brave going up against 3 women, but it's an enjoyable experience for everybody.
It's a
We're
good
not
time.
haters.
It's a good
Yep.
time. All right, so without further ado, should we talk about the elephant in the room?
Might as well.
Okay. So, Secret Empire number 10.
I think we just need the big spoiler warning, like right now.
Yeah, oh, it's already. I started the show with the spoiler tag up there, already
Okay.
visible. So, Secret Empire number 10, which. So, what was it supposed to be originally? Like, what, 8 issues?
I think it might have been 7.
Thought it was
I think it was
7 or
originally
8.
it was originally 8, because I remember it was a big deal because they added multiple issues. It might have been even like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But isn't it interesting that like it feels like Secret Empire has been going on for 5 years, but it's only been about 5 months?
Yeah,
I will say,
definitely.
I am impressed by how fast it came out, at the very least.
Yeah. It didn't get delayed too much,
And,
which
like-
happens a lot with Marvel events.
Didn't number 9 come out last week? Am I remembering that wrong?
I think it was like a few weeks.
Maybe it was just 2
Maybe
weeks
it was
ago.
last week. I think
But
it was like 2 weeks ago.
The last couple issues have been coming out very fast. They're like, just
Yeah.
get this
Yeah.
shit over with. We want to be done.
Mercifully.
Please move us on. So when this event started, I was like, this is basically Civil War 3. We just finished Civil War 2. We have the superheroes fighting each other. We've got Captain America versus Iron Man and Carol Danvers this time, because we gotta even out all of the different matchups.
We gotta
apparently.
save Carol Danvers from
Yeah,
from
yeah, there was definitely a
War
lot
three.
of like, hey, remember Carol's not evil in this book? Oh,
And there were some good scenes that actually did do it. Like again, this yay!
Copper just came. He wants to check out the podcast. This is Copper.
Oh.
So yeah, so Civil War 3 basically, but they couldn't call it that. They
Mhm.
had to call it Secret Empire. And if anybody doubted that it was really Civil War 3, those doubts were squashed in this issue when we literally had the evil Captain America turned into evil Iron Man and fought Sam Wilson
Yeah.
Captain America, and there were even direct panels right out of both Civil Wars.
And Infinity Gauntlet. Because
And an Infinity Gauntlet reference, which I'm not that familiar with Infinity Gauntlet, so you had to explain that one to me, Reed.
yeah,
Well, hold on. Let
because
me move the Secret Empire cover from to the other side of the screen right now, so that we can all see feats. It was
he's
being
a lovely
blocked.
baby boy.
Oh god, I'm moving a bunch of things that aren't the Secret Empire cover.
I'm making him sneeze.
You're making him sneeze? That?
Yeah.
Okay, there we
I-
go.
I-
Secret Empire's moved to the other side of the screen, and the cat's gone. That's professional showmanship right there, ladies and gentlemen, right there. There we go. Thank you for redeeming me, Reed. So back to the task at hand. Secret Empire 10. You pointed this out to me, the Infinity Gauntlet reference.
Yeah, which like it's a whole page. It's basically the scene like before Cap goes up and fights Thanos, and like that's where Cap dies for a while, but not really because comic books. He only dies in there because Thanos kills everyone. But there's a particular note in the page where it flashes back to Thanos for a moment, and like it shows him. And this is like one of the big confrontations between Sam and Hydra Cap. And yeah, there's a scene there where you see them face to face, like him, and then you see Thanos, and it even starts out with the line, "Hey Steve, guess this is where the fat lady sings," which is the line that Steve gives Thanos on their confrontation. And this whole page is just out of Infinity Gauntlet. It's really cool. It's like the same characters in the same spaces, like the same paneling and everything. And it was a neat little reference. Don't know why.
Cool.
Neat little reference.
So to wrap up, for those of you who maybe don't want to read Secret Empire, we can't blame you. Basically, the big plot has been about the fragments of the Cosmic Cube. This book has forgotten the big plot a lot, but this is technically the main plot. Kobik was fractured into fragments, and they were hunting the different fragments to be more powerful than the other team. Hydra won basically every time, except for this one last fragment that Sam Wilson used to save the day.
Mm-hmm.
And sending...
also...
Go ahead.
No, I said we should also mention several times. This is a story that both Nick Spencer and Marvel has said. Don't worry, the Cosmic Cube isn't going to fix this story. It's not just going to be the Cosmic Cube. And to their credit, it wasn't all the Cosmic Cube, technically.
What else was it? It was the Cosmic Cube was like, here, let me fix it.
Yeah, mostly, but the fact that, like, Hydra Cap is still around, it didn't just, like, completely, like, they can cover their butts that way.
That's true. They still did leave him around, but that's more than like they just gave us a villain that nobody's gonna want to use. By the way, we're not gonna see Hydra come.
It can be like when Jason Aaron brought back as Azazel as a pirate in death, as like a heaven demon pirate. Like 10 years from now, we'll have like Hydra Cap working for Arcade. Oh, they can do that. They got Hydra Cap working for Arcade.
I expect
and
it to
like, be given like a fake like those scenes from Spider-Man Homecoming, like a fake you can do this. You should learn to hail Hydra, and then you like burst out of the screen like you have to fight him. It's just like Arcade wanted to be like, hey, remember this? Oh, you gotta fight it.
Yeah, see, it's gonna be remember this problem thing. Yeah. It's like how in a recent issue of, what was it, Sinestro, they like, Hal Jordan just picked Lobo up and put him in a bottle and was like, here's the shitty Lobo nobody likes, we're gonna get rid of him forever, and just threw him off the panel. That's what's gonna happen to this guy.
Yeah, which Lobo is still drawn as him about half the time in JLA, and the other half he's drawn as regular Lobo.
Yeah, he was colored as a human once, that was hilarious.
This is about Secret Empire. And the other big thing is Generations, the event that came out and mostly finished before the event that launched it happened.
Is it really more than like halfway done?
Oh yeah, most of them are out. Yeah, it's because we've had Hulk, Hawkeye, Jean, Thor. I know there's some more. Hulks. I think we had
Wolverine.
Yet. So I think. Yeah, Wolverine. So that's like seven of them that are already out. I think we just have Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel,
and Captain
America left, and the Iron Man.
Yeah.
So yeah, Generations is already more than half over.
So yeah, so we've been wondering, what is Generations? And we knew we were going to find out in this issue, and Kobik looks at all the characters from Generations and is like, here, go gain some clarity, and they just fuck off for a panel and then come back, and they're like, now we're special,
better for it.
Yeah, like, ooh, the things we have learned, and like, we've no idea why she does that, where she sent them, and why it had to do with the old versions of the legacy characters.
So here's the thing that's interesting to me is one of the big things in the story is that they keep talking about Vanishing Point and being a DC dude. Maybe you know this, Scott or Aaron. Is Vanishing Point, is that like a general thing in science fiction? Is that something like is DC referencing something too? Because if not, they're just like referencing DC by having the same Vanishing Point, which is the point that exists outside of space and time where anything can happen.
Well, I will say in DC it is more specific than that, because in this it is just outside of time. In DC it is the end of time. It is the point at which time vanishes.
Yeah.
So I think that the answer is sort of both. I think that it is a thing in mythology or in like sci-fi, but that DC has a more specific, like, this is how the Vanishing Point works here. Almost like the Inn at the End of the World in Sandman.
Yeah.
How like they just take this thing that's from a lot of different faiths and mythologies that are like, here's why it happened.
And people can just come hang out, do whatever they want.
Yeah, stay if you get a job.
Scott read a bunch of Sandman this week.
I've been reading a lot of Sandman. I read through all of Sandman after Metal came out. I was like, it's time to sit down and read it all at once, understand it all.
Have you read Overture yet?
I haven't read Overture yet.
It's one of the best ones.
I'm very excited. I love J.H. Williams. He's so great. So yeah, Secret Empire ended. It was Civil War 3. It's finally over. Kobik was just like, hey, I'm gonna put the world back, but at least she left the memories. So it's not like after Crisis when like only Psycho Pirate remembered what had happened and everybody else was like, well, I guess this is the world now.
That was gonna piss me off if they did something similar to that. And luckily they didn't, but it just seems sloppy. Like they're like here's like a page and a half and then bam, you're done. It's just like I read 11 issues for what? Or 10 issues or whatever it is right now.
Omega is left, whatever the hell Omega's gonna be.
So far it's been 12, because there was a Secret Empire 0, there was a Secret Empire Free Comic Book Day, 1 through 10, and now we've also got Omega, the epilogue issue. So that's 14 issues total.
Secret Empire.
And that's not counting tie-ins.
Not counting tie-ins, or Secret Warriors, or New World Order, or, any other things. Just random X-Men comics where suddenly things are going on and then they go back to their other plot.
Remember when Nick Spencer was that dude who wrote like funny Ant-Man and Spider-Man comics? He did Superior Foes, which was a great series. I still like it. It was really fun. It was just wacky and just kind of like character focused. He did The Fix, but now he's going to be the dude who made Nazi Captain America forever.
Yeah, like I still think he's a good writer. Like that was part of my conflict reading the series is that like the idea behind Secret Empire was so messed up, but they were still like kind of well-made comics. Like they were well written and well drawn, as far as just like making good comics goes. But it's just you just committed too hard to the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's just like there's a little too much like in the details and the messages that it's trying to hammer in, no pun intended, that just don't quite get across right.
And if this had worked like House of M, where like instead of the editors coming out every day and being like, this is the real MCU and it'll be the real MCU until you die, instead of doing that, if they were like, yeah, Kobik changed the world, so this is the Kobik world we're gonna fight in for a while, see what happens next, that would have like, which is what it ended up being.
Right.
I think the whole scene would have been set better. People would have received it a lot better if the whole time we could know, which we should have like. I assumed from day one this would be the case, that this wasn't the real Captain America, that Captain America would be fixed.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe Kobik's memory of Cap, though, should be a little flawed.
Yeah.
Like, are we getting the same Cap? Does it count as the same Captain America if the real Cap got undone and then remade by a cosmic cube?
I think the answer is Speed Force. I got no idea.
I think you're right.
There we go.
So
Secret Empire, Speed Force. There we go.
It happened. It's finally over. I'll tell you what.
We're going to have to talk about it next week. We're going to talk about one more next week.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, though. I do think there were definitely a lot of people that got way off in a tizzy over Magneto's involvement in this story before it happened, and Magneto didn't end up being involved in this story.
Yeah, not really.
Didn't, but there was that weird scene where Hydra Cap gives him the severed head of Red Skull to be like, will you ally with me? He's like, you're okay. All right. Sure.
But he doesn't even ally with him. What he says is, I'll stay out of it. And then at the end, he's like, fuck it. I'm going to murder some Nazis. So, like, he still does what Magneto would have done. He starts off wishy-washy, tries to be a good guy, and then goes, fuck it, and then kicks a bunch of ass. The Magneto we know and love.
That's what that dude's good at.
So it's over. It wasn't... At least it wasn't a big
He
deal.
gave us some interesting things, like Frank Castle working for Hydra. Now he's going to be War Machine.
I gotta say, I will forever be thankful for Pimtron, the half Hank, half Ultron dinner party. Like,
so
in the middle of this weird event comic is this almost standalone issue that's so weird and hilarious and brilliant. Like, it was just... Where did that scene come from?
Yeah. Maybe I missed it. Like, how did Scarlet Witch get possessed? Was it from an earlier issue? And they didn't really clarify how she gets unpossessed unless she's still,
I'm pretty certain
possessed
the
by
answer
that
to that
demon.
is in a tie-in.
Okay.
I think that
I
was
was
a time
like, when did this happen? Because I read like the solo series and she rejoined the Avengers, and then like all of a sudden she's possessed by a demon. I was like, okay, wait a minute, what did I miss? Because I didn't get where that happened.
Apparently there was, I think the cover of Uncanny Avengers this week had Rogue and Scarlet Witch on the cover, and it had them dealing with stuff, which is weird to see Rogue and Scarlet Witch on the cover and it not be an X-Men book.
Uncanny Avengers is still a book?
It is still a book. I noticed because I thought it was an X-Men book this week.
I forgot.
Yeah, unfortunately it is.
Okay, any last thoughts on Secret Empire before we get to move on, talk about things we want to talk about?
I hope the after issues are good, but we'll see. I just don't want them to sweep it under the rug like they have past crossover events. I mean, crossover events are kind of what they are. They're always a little bit of a hot mess, but this one was a little bit sloppily executed in my book.
Just remember, no events for 18 months, because in Marvel Legacy, every book is an event.
Every book is an event. I do think when they do, I don't know if it's going to be in Legacy or what, but some real shit is cooking up with the Phoenix.
Yeah,
and
they're
I
now.
agree.
I feel like that has to be event-sized. Although they might be like.
Here's sad.
What's up?
No, they're saying as they do, they're like the last page of Legacy #1. It's going to break the internet. So I'm thinking, honestly, like bringing back original old Jean Grey wouldn't break it, but I feel like she's one of the candidates. Because I feel like the candidates for how they're going to shock everyone is going to either be old Jean Grey, original Wolverine, or what we want, the Fantastic Four. But more likely than not, if they're trying to like hype up a big return, or say Miracle Man's in the universe, which they could get away with that. But I feel like it's either going to be Wolverine, Phoenix, or Fantastic Four. Probably one of the former two.
I expect it to be more. I was thinking something more like something in the past, in like a million BC or whatever, that has massive implications for why the future is what it is. Some like roadmap that somebody planned the Avengers, maybe the Watcher. Something like that, or here's what it should be.
Map.
It should just be they find Franklin Richards. Because here's my that's some pretty loud thumping you're doing right there on your microphone.
Yeah, because I was excited.
One of my favorite theories for why the Marvel Universe is what it is that Franklin Richards just wants it to be that way. That's why people don't age the way they normally do. That's why people die and come back to all the time. Like, Franklin Richards is just like, no, I want Magneto to still be young, but have grown up in the 1940s. Like, I'm Franklin Richards. Bop, I could do that.
I'm getting chills thinking of that.
Right? It works so well. It works too well.
Yeah.
So, I would say there's maybe a 2% chance of that happening at the end of Legacy.
So you said there's some big first. So it's going to be interesting whoever that is.
Yeah, I think that after Hail Hydra, there's no break the internet thing they can do. They don't have a Dr. Manhattan or Sandman to put at the end of their first issue.
That's Miracle Man, nowhere near, but he's like the closest they have because he represented something big.
Yeah,
but
But he's also like Miracle Man's not going to break the internet.
Okay, no. Here's something they could do. They're not going to. The Marvel Cinematic Universe comes to the comics. Like, it's Robert Downey Jr.
literally.
Iron Man.
Here's what it is, though. It should be just like not the characters, just the actors. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Jeremy Renner, Scarlett Johansson. They find themselves inside a comic book and freak the fuck out.
There we go. Okay. I hope there's a spoiler warning because we're telling what's going to happen.
Yes. Spoilers for the future.
Yeah.
So when Legacy #1 comes out, we'll definitely come back and we will discuss whether or not it broke the internet.
The $5.99 80-page one-shot compared to the $2.99 80-page one. No, $5.99 40-page one-shot.
Really?
Yeah. Compared to DC Universe Rebirth, which was $2.99 for 80 pages.
That's one of my favorite things DC does. When they have a huge thing that's all coming out of one issue, they make that issue cheap as shit. Like the DC Universe Countdown that sort of set up all the things for Infinite Crisis was a quarter.
Yeah, the one where Ted Cord dies.
Yeah, Death of Ted Cord was 25 cents. Spoilers for 2004. Wow, that was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Man.
That's when they were like, JLI characters, you can
die.
You can be important. Do you know what it means to be important in 2004 DC Comics? You get it. Come on, Ralph, get on the scene. I'm distracting us.
It's so true, though, but it's so true. All right,
is.
so speaking of the Phoenix and of generations and stuff, let's talk about Jean Grey. This is one of issues you wanted to talk about this week, Erin.
Yeah, I like the Jean Grey. The Generations was a little sad in my book. So it's supposed to be Jean Grey revisiting, which you assume is the Phoenix, but they don't really clarify if it's the Phoenix or an older version of Jean from previous timeline. And it kind of has a sad moment where she's trying to get questions out of the Phoenix because the whole point of the Jean Grey line is she's so terrified of becoming the old Jean, which is the world destroyer, and she's trying to avoid that possibility no matter what it takes. And he kind of ended on a sad note. It was weird because it had like a moment in history where she's seeing the Phoenix do some good, and she has the ability to tell the Phoenix of the past, like, hey, you're about to like go kill a whole bunch of people, but she decides not to. A watcher shows up, so it was a significant moment, and she decides that the repercussions, if she told the old version of herself what was going to happen, could outweigh what she does. So it goes back into, she blips back off, which we now discover from Secret Empire what that was all about. And in the past, we're on issue 6-ish. And again, she's getting these visions, and she's so terrified that she's going to become this like world killer that she's going to try to amp herself up to avoid becoming the Phoenix or this psycho destructive, bipolar lady that kills a whole bunch of people. And so she originally visits some of the Phoenix hosts, which is Namor and Colossus and Cyclops and Emma Frost and Quentin Quire, a whole bunch of them. And then she decides, I guess she's going to be like this badass warrior chick with the psi weapons. So for some reason, she discovers that power with Odinson, which I actually enjoyed that issue. I thought that was fun. And then she goes to Psylocke, and they're going off randomly to defeat some hand people, which didn't really make much sense, but whatever.
Well, the Defenders came out that week.
Gotta like slip that in there a little bit, but and then this issue she goes to Doctor Strange because Psylocke and Jean Grey were hearing this voice in her head, and this issue had Doctor Strange in it. Spoiler alert: they're basically trying to figure out what this voice is, and it was basically the ghost of the original Jean Grey. And I liked this issue because I felt like Teen Jean needed ass kicking. Because she feels like the original Jean is like, oh my God, the worst thing ever. I'm nothing like her. And the whole issue was spent being like, bitch, you are fucking me. Like, get over yourself. This is what could happen. You need to learn from my mistakes. And they had issues with showing her and Emma and Scott having their little, I guess, breakup speech between the three of them. Because Jean caught Emma and Scott like getting it on and some sci thing.
Yeah, that classic Grant Morrison. Yeah. I think that was Fred Quietly.
Yeah, it was Morrison Quietly around.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed seeing the old Jean come back into the swing of things and just kick the shit out of Teen Jean, and basically tell her, get over yourself. You need my advice if you're going to survive this. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the issue, it basically shows like a ghost version of Jean Grey, so the original Jean. So for some reason, Doctor Strange can't see her, which I thought was weird. And in the next issue, they're teasing that she's going to go to Scarlet Witch to help with the spirit of the original Jean. And then they're supposed to be coming up with a new arc, which is called Psy Wars, where she's going up against Emma Frost. So that's going to be fucking awesome. Can't wait to see that.
That's going to be great.
I'm liking this Jean solo series. It's really kind of giving her own spin, but also bringing back all those really good memories we had when we were X-Men fans back in the 90s or the 80s. Mm-hmm. Seeing old Jean Grey meets Teen Jean and just kind of paving their own way, but also touching back on all the old stuff that Jean did, the original Jean. What'd you guys think of it?
This is Dennis Hopeless, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He is doing an amazing job, and Paul Davidson did the artwork on this issue, and it's very trippy because they're all on the temporal plane, the astral plane.
And Dennis Hopeless did X-Men Season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Which he chose which is kind of like retelling the Silver Age, and he chose Jean as his pivotal character for that.
Yeah.
So he's got some Jean cred.
Plus, he did all new X-Men, and Jean was the one of the leads in that. It was like kind of the lead, and it was basically the same Jean from season 1.
Yeah, no, I'm really digging this series. I thought it was kind of a nice misdirect. How like every issue she's been going to a mentor, and this one was way more Jean than Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
you know, which
is
good
because really just kind of there as a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice.
Which was nice because like I just get so annoyed by the way Doctor Strange is written right now. How he basically talks like Spider-Man.
Yeah, he
I couldn't do his issues. They're horrible. Didn't they get canceled?
Talks like Joe
like Sorcerer Supreme, or isn't that the one that got canceled?
No idea.
One of them I thought got canceled.
Yeah,
it's bad. It's bad. But because I think the Sorcerer Supreme was him going back in time and meeting other Sorcerer Supreme, and it just was like he wasn't even the star of his own comic. So you're like, what the fuck's the point? Like, really? And this one, he was kind of a. I did like that Jean was making fun of him because he was just like snacking and being like obnoxious, and she's like, don't you have to like say some seancey thing? He's like, no, that's just the hype. But that was funny, them spinning that on him. But
so weird, such a weird Doctor Strange.
He's I don't know how I feel about him. I liked him in the MCU, but the comics not so much.
Yeah.
I liked him back when he was in like Secret Defenders and stuff like that, but the way he is now, I feel like the people that write him don't really know him, so it suffers.
Like Brian Michael Bendis. He writes some things really good.
He does on some things, but
he writes like one thing though. Like I consistently forget that he's the one who did Alias, because like I am surprised that he could write something like that. Because these days everything is Spider-Man. If Brian Bendis gets his hands on it, it becomes Spider-Man.
Yeah, he does street level really well, and like anyone who's adjacent to that, he's really good at. But then you have also things like infamous Iron Man. That's really interesting. That dude writes Doom real good. That dude writes Doom real good. He writes Johnny. He writes Thing, who are also Spider-Man. But like he's someone who has to nail things down. Like I liked his Uncanny X-Men and Adjectiveless X-Men a lot from like a few years ago. Those runs were really good. It's like that dude can write well, but there's certain things he cannot write.
Like Scott Summers.
When he has, now I'm thinking of IVX and stuff and just bad Scott.
Yeah. See, I know he wasn't involved with that, but the Scott, like that was Brian Bendis' legacy, was that he made Scott such a douche that we just had to kill him.
He kind of did. Like, it started in AVX.
AVX was his Dark Phoenix. That was the moment where, like, you know, Jean went up and she killed a whole planet, and that was when in Dark Phoenix, Jim Shooter was like, Jean has to die. You can't redeem her. She committed genocide. And I guess the Phoenix using Scott to kill Xavier is the same thing.
Yeah, might as well be, apparently.
Rather, it snowballed into the same thing.
Yeah.
Because he killed a cloud. Don't ever forget the cloud that he killed. The extra double cloud that only appeared in that issue just to be killed.
And then Black Bolt kills him execution style in front of everyone. But then there's enough for characters to be like, hey, pass Scott. How do you like being mutant Hitler? And I still don't like it. Literally mutant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That was an actual thing that said, they were like, aren't you basically like Hitler? And then we learned that he killed the cloud, and you were like, that's the opposite of what Hitler did. Was stop clouds from killing people.
Which is a very contentious book when it comes to two white men whose collective age is 102 writing teenagers.
Yeah. But again, the same thing could be said about everything Kiffin and DeMatteis write, and they do okay.
Yeah, that's it. They do a good job.
They do a good job.
Speaking of the teen X-Men, did you guys read the last X-Men Blue with Emma going like full on crazy bitch?
And with the Hexmen? Yes. Oh, I love the Hexmen. With Bloodstorm being back, we got Bloodstorm.
I was freaking out because I loved Mutant X, so I was like, oh my god, we have Bloodstorm, we have the Goblin Queen, even though she's like weird looking. Like I don't know what happened to that, but
yeah, Goblin Queen has like Hellboy horns now.
Yeah, that was a little weird. I was like, I don't remember this, but maybe it's been a while since I've read
it. Sorry, say that again, Reed.
Yeah, that happened in All New X-Men because technically this is the Goblin Queen from Battleworld.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Yeah, this is the Goblin Queen from Battleworld and Inferno, where it was like, what if Inferno went on and just won?
All right.
Oh, okay. Now
I should read that. I love Inferno.
Yeah, and the Goblin Queen stuff is real good in All New X-Men. Again, Dennis Hopeless. That dude's pretty good.
I'm just glad that Maddie's back in the picture, if that is the version of Maddie.
There's a version of Maddie. Well, I mean, if Inferno went well, then it's Madeline Pryor succeeding when she tries to become the Goblin Queen.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that issue, and I've been meaning to get it, and I just haven't had a chance yet. But I'll have to pick it up now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So X-Men Blue, number 10. I've been really digging this series. I have not yet really read a whole bunch of the time displaced original X-Men. I didn't read Bendis's X-Men run, so this is sort of me learning a lot of them. And I love that Jean is like in charge of the team because the rest of them are a bunch of teenage boys that can't get their shit together. As a former teenage boy, that's relatable to me. And then I didn't realize, like, I knew Beast was into magic. I didn't, until I read this issue, know why, because he was time displaced. The technology has so surpassed him that this is how he can sort of use his skills of study to excel in this world without, starting so far back. I really liked that. I liked that touch. I liked the idea of Beast sort of craving that role of intellectual dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's very surprising that out of all the time displaced X-Men, even kind of up to the point of Jean, that Beast is the one who's kind of gotten the most character work. Like, because even though you have, like, Scott who's like, oh, current Scott is bad, like, this Beast is someone, like, he's actively worked, like, he's like, all right, I'm going to make myself different from Future Hank. Like, I'm going to learn magic. I'm going to study with Doctor Strange. I'm going to try to, like, go out and actually learn these things. And this was a big part of All New X-Men by Hopeless, to where he's just, like, he's really focusing on things and just becoming, like, a different, interesting dude. Again, especially with all this magic stuff.
They had to do that, though, because I think, at least according to Secret Warriors, there's like 3 versions of Hank running around, so he kind of had to differentiate himself.
Dark Beast is dead for now.
Yeah, I think it's also a good way of, like, there's a degree to which Beast can look at the time and space comes and sees where he goes, and has a very similar arc that Jean goes through of, like, I don't want to become that thing, but his is just the same but less than Jean's, because Jean's is bigger.
Yeah.
So this is a good way of giving him his own storyline, Because, like, we're going to care about Beast. Angel, just make him Angel.
Yeah, Angel, Bobby.
Flies.
Kind of just Bobby.
Yeah, like, Bobby, honestly...
Solo Iceman, and I don't care for him too much. He's the weakest character to me in Blue.
That's future, but that's current Bobby. The Iceman series.
Yeah, Iceman Solo is different Bobby.
There's so many freaking, like, time displaced people, it's hard to keep them straight. Okay.
But yeah, I feel like every time I see young Bobby, it's, hey, do you remember that Bobby's gay? Okay, you filled your role now. Like, it's kind of a shame that, like, now that he's gay, he's become this token gay character. And, like, he's Bobby Drake. He's been around since 1963. Give him a little bit more than just, I'm gay and make jokes. Gay Spider-Man.
Because, that's the problem. Because you have future Iceman, who you can actually have as, like, the developed gay character of a gay man trying to come out, like, in his 30s or whatever. Like, that's interesting. But with young Iceman, it's like, what do you really got? You got to figure out something.
Yeah, you got this dude that really fucking loves the future. And you can't blame him, but, like, it's been a few years now.
Yeah. That's the other thing with the whole time displaced X-Men. Like, it's got to end at some point. Like, I mean, it doesn't because comics, but, like, cause they kind of, they've addressed that, spoilers, because, well, obviously, that this isn't the original 5 X-Men because the original 5 X-Men didn't go through all this stuff. It's a parallel timeline. But still, it's going to be interesting, like, 5 years down the road, if we're still going to have these guys. We might. Like, if it's just, like, is Cyclops just going to be young Cyclops? Is Jean going to be young Jean? And it's really interesting that it's lasted this long.
It's sad, though, because I definitely can like it much better than a Gold. Guggenheim is...
Uncle Googie is...
Uncle Gugs.
Uncle Googs. Gaga Googs. He... I mean, yeah, I like Blue better. That's...
Yeah.
I mean, he is.
I'm not disliking Gold. Gold is okay.
Yeah.
But it's okay, funny. But that's the thing. It's just okay to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not like outstanding.
And it's like one of the flagship books.
Yeah, it's like it feels like it's trying to be the main, or it was initially feel like it tried to be the main X-Men book, because it's about the school, it's about Kitty. Although now that we have it, Astonishing feels like it's the X-Men book to me.
Yeah, obviously, Astonishing feels way more of like the book, especially because it has a certain character in it.
Yes.
And it also has Wolverine, the other character who is in 5 books.
It's got,
and still is written.
Wolverine is in all these books we're talking about, one way or another. We've got Wolverine. But yeah, like Gold is just like it's just X-Men, and like initially it was like, oh, this is cool. It like feels like old X-Men, but then like you're like, but these things are new X-Men, which is also cool.
Yeah. And just again, just Astonishing. I like the lineup a lot in Astonishing. I like the writing they've been doing.
Yeah.
Shadow King, he's cool. I haven't seen that.
I'm
Well, he's
loving
half
that.
a spider. I don't know why, but I like him being half a spider.
That's just his
The
astral form.
artwork is just
Is
insane.
it? Like,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
it
that's a
is.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
So what do you guys
Right.
think about the whole Professor X reveal from Astonishing?
So,
A little
I'm
underwhelming to
very-
me, gotta be honest.
yeah. Yeah, because it's one of those things where it's like it could be something, but it's probably not. Like if this is the way Xavier came back, it would feel weird.
See, that's sort of how I feel. That like in the first issue, when the last page was, oh look, it's Xavier, I thought, because this is something the comics do, where if they're gonna bring back a character, before they bring him back, they'll make you think he's back or bring him up, right? Like in Batman Hush, they brought up Jason Todd. There was for a while they
and
thought,
they had Jason Todd.
yeah, like they thought maybe Jason Todd would be Hush. Turned out it wasn't him, but soon thereafter, Jason Todd came back to life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that's what they were doing. And then the second issue is just Xavier and Shadow King talking to each other by themselves in a way that, like, if this is the Shadow King creating this construct, which is I thought it was initially, then why is he having this debate with himself? Like, yeah. Then, like Reed said, it just feels like Xavier's just been waiting in the astral plane, just hanging out. With Shadow
And then
King,
it goes on and
playing chess like he's Magneto.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see, but yeah, it's just like, oh, I was waiting for the big Xavier reveal, and I didn't think that it would just be like, oh, hey, by the way, Xavier's in this book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. It's 2 issues deep. We don't know.
3
Yeah.
issues.
3 issues. Third issue comes out this week.
Came out last week.
Really?
Yeah. It's out.
Okay.
Has it already been 3?
To read
Damn.
number 3.
Yeah. It was like last week or 2 weeks ago.
That's crazy.
All right.
It's definitely interesting. I prefer it. Sorry, gold,
Yeah.
but damn.
It might be my favorite X book, right? Like, I like Blue a lot. But Astonishing's real good after 3 issues. I've got is that Bun? Who's writing Astonishing?
It's Charles Soule, which surprises me in a big way because
Yeah.
he just totally dropped the ball for like 2.5 years straight on the Inhumans.
Mhm.
Yeah, and IVX. But now he's doing like, I like this work. I like this book.
Okay, Astonishing X-Men number 3 comes out September 6th. It is not out yet.
How did I?
It's-
Because it wasn't one of our review copies. How did I
No.
read that book?
I don't. Are you sure you did? It's got
Yes.
art by Ed McGuinness.
Maybe it was number 2.
I think you're thinking of number 2, where they were in the theater.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was number
Yeah.
2.
That was the second issue. Yeah.
All right. Retcon.
Okay, so now we know what's going on. But hey, I didn't know until now. Ed McGuinness is drawing Astonishing number 3.
Ooh, that's gonna be fun.
Oh, nice.
That's very
Ooh,
surprising.
That's gonna be good. Weird.
Yeah, it's gonna be good weird. So yeah, Charles Soule apparently can do something right.
Apparently.
You know what feels. You know what it feels like the fundamental difference is that it seems like he actually read some X-Men before writing the
Yeah.
series. And that is not the impression I get from reading any of his Inhumans, that he ever had read a single Inhumans book. I think he just did some Wikipedia skimming,
Mhm.
and then was like, okay, here's how Terrigen works, and who are the Alpha Primitives? I don't care.
I don't even know how
feelings about the
Terrigen really
Inhumans.
works.
Strong feelings about the Inhumans. More than most people even know they exist, I have strong feelings about the Inhumans.
And now many more people are gonna know they exist thanks to the new hit TV show coming this fall.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the people that actually spend money going to see it in IMAX. Like, dude, seriously.
I did it.
Scott did. Scott
Hey,
did it.
Mostly
Hey,
because
I'm not judging you.
I never thought I would be able to go see the Inhumans at a movie theater. Like, that was huge for me, just to be able to do it. I
mean,
thought it
except
was
for
worth
when
my
there's-
money. I don't think it's worth your money. That's how I'll put it.
You know, now,
I mean, I'm gonna watch it. I know myself. I'm gonna watch it because I love the Inhumans, but I just couldn't get over
Honestly,
the previews and some of the things.
It wasn't
And
that bad. It was okay for the most part. It just felt like I was just watching a show. You know, it was like most of the shows that are. I was like Agents of Shield, where I thought it was pretty fun. I enjoy watching it, but like there are definitely problems I have with it. There are mistakes they make in execution, but for the most part, you're just watching a show, and it's not like so bad. You know, one of those shows where like every actor is just terrible, and you just can't watch a single scene. it's easier. You can just like forget and watch Inhumans in this case. It's not one of those. It's just
Yeah, I guess my
it's a
big beef is I was really wanting to have them in the MCU. I mean, like you made Rocket Raccoon popular. He's a fucking trash panda that talks. Come on, you could have made the Inhumans popular. I would have loved to have seen Black Bolt in the Infinity Wars, but you know, whatever.
Yeah, I think they.
So what you're saying
What's that?
is that Inhumans is no Gotham.
Gotham, nothing can be Gotham. Reed, Gotham is
Gotham is
the is an aspect of like the literary sublime. It is terrifying and beautiful at the same time, and it defies explanation.
It's a real show about real people, not superheroes, according to executive producer Bruno Heller.
Oh my god, this show's so ridiculous. There's no show that is more parts good and bad at the same time than Gotham. Like
Getting Professor Pig.
Inhumans isn't as dynamic on the good or the bad as Gotham is.
Yeah.
It's less on both, and that's like saying something just in general.
Yeah, and that's why I brought it up, because that's like Gotham's a similar show that is just very dynamic.
Yeah, the difference though
it's
is
not
that
one thing or another.
Gotham has the Batman name behind it, so that's why it's like bulletproof.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's why it can do whatever it wants, like blow up Azrael with a rocket launcher, or do Solomon Grundy next season.
Yeah, Solomon Grundy, Professor Pig, and another Scarecrow, because we already got Scarecrow, but we're doing him again because we're doing him better than last time.
Yeah, he's gonna be super scary. And Bruce has a mask now. He has a cowl.
Yeah, we got 14-year-old Batman too. Let's move on from Gotham.
Yeah. So Gotham is, you know who else is, Scott?
Darkseid.
Who else is?
Darkseid is.
Darkseid is.
Is that your segue?
That's my segue to your next comic.
All right.
I think you were talking about that one. If not, ignore my segue.
Yeah. I mean, that could totally be it.
Okay.
So anyway, the 2 issues that came out this week, the last 2 of the Kirby specials, Shallow Norman and the Black Racer, and the Darkseid Oversized Special with an Etrigan backup. These were both super fun. These were both super Kirby. First of all, I'll read anything that has Bill Sienkiewicz's name on it, and even though he only provided inks for like half of the Black Racer series, it was still worth it, and it still has.
Him inking Dennis Cohen is beautiful.
Yeah, it worked really well. One thing that I thought was pretty cool is that the guy who wrote the Darkseid special, whose name I really should know,
Mark Evanier.
He's been doing letters in the back of all of these Kirby specials. He was actually personal assistant to Jack Kirby back in the day.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Like he worked side by side.
Kirby King of Comics.
Yeah, he wrote a book. Yeah, he wrote a book about the King. So him writing the Darkseid special was really cool. The Darkseid special was about a rebellion on Apokolips, which was neat. And I was like, one thing when I started reading it, I was like, ain't nobody better try to actually overthrow Darkseid. And very appropriately, Darkseid just like crushed them. One of them kind of got away, but like there was no successful revolution, which I appreciated because it's a Darkseid comic. That's how it's supposed to happen. I'm sorry, I misspoke earlier. There wasn't an Etrigan backup. There was an OMAC backup.
Right.
Which was also fun and really short and just like OMAC kicking ass.
It had one of my favorite lines of the week, which was, "Stand down, soldier. I'm not a soldier. I'm an Army Corps."
The one-man Army
really cool.
Corps.
He's an Army Corps. He's a one-man Army Corps, Scott. He's a one-man Army Corps. That stands for OMAC.
That's the OMAC. Brother Eye in the Sky. Not to be confused with Ben Boxer, who was basically OMAC before OMAC.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the Black Racer Charlotte Norman special was like super great. I did not expect it to be as cool as it was. The whole thing takes place. It's like this event where basically what's his name? Like Travis Donald. Travis Donald, the evil billionaire, has challenged Mr. Miracle to escape his death traps, and if he does, then he will give $1 billion to the orphans of the world. Travis Donald is straight up Donald Trump. Straight up Donald Trump. At the end of this issue, there's a disappointed Donald Trump just walking away. They call him Mr. Donald. Straight up the Trumpster. So Donald Trump has Mr. Miracle strapped to to a missile, classic Mr. Miracle style. And what's cool is that this book kind of had this time loopy thing where it started out like right before the event where the opening act was just talking shit about Mr. Miracle because he wasn't the original Mr. Miracle. And then we see Mr. Miracle doing his thing, and Black Eraser shows up, and he's like, "Yo, I'm Death. I'm scary." And Mother Box is like, "Yeah, you're definitely gonna die right now." And Mr. Miracle's like, "Fuck that!" And he like escapes, and they like chase each other through time. They visit Commandyland. They keep on running, and then finally Black Eraser sees that like the whole thing was rigged by Donald Trump, and is like, "All right, you get to live. Be cool." And then he leaves, and then Mr. Miracle's like, "Sometimes Death and I are friends." Wow. And it's just like, I'm making it sound way more bombastic than it is, but that's why it's great, is that it's this like swashbuckling Mr. Miracle story that's also like deep and intimate because it's mostly focused around the Black Racer and his history, and it like retells his origin story, and it's all sad and shit. So it has, and that's what Jack Kirby was great at, this mix of crazy, high, bombastic adventure and intimate tragedy. You know, that's part of what Kirby did great.
Well done melodrama. And then that's what was like all over Darkseid. Like, oh, it's just the way he talked and the way everyone talks in that book. It is like peak Fourth World Kirby.
Yeah, that book takes place on Apokolips.
Yeah. Like when Granny Goodness is like, "You shall not escape, Granny. My fury shall take you." And just everything, like all the Furies are introducing themselves, like, "I am Sheeta. I am the master of this, this, and this.
I'm Lashina. I'm Mad Harriet. I'm Stompa, and I stomp."
Yeah.
Love Stompa.
That's so good. It was like, I think that was my favorite one. Like most of them, they're all very good, very fun. Darkseid one, so good. That was my favorite.
Yeah, I still think Sandman stole the show for me.
Sandman
was the art.
Sandman was good.
But,
the art in that was insane.
There were a lot of good ones. The Newsboy Legion and Boy Commandos one was really fun, but like it was really just for fans of Newsboy Legion and Boy Commandos. If you like aren't familiar with them, it does not explain anything to you. It throws you at the deep end. These other ones all explain things pretty well. So we just got to know who Darkseid is, because Darkseid is.
He is.
Yes. Really good times. Really good times. Gotta love the king. He's the king for a reason.
Really is.
All right. Yeah. Let us move on to one of your books, Reed.
Yeah, we're going to start off with a book that I don't normally follow, and a book that I do like to remind watchers, viewers, and listeners that, next up with Scott Snyder is the most consistent it's the most consistent writer on a book in the New 52 of the past 5 years, which is Scott Lobdell's Red Hood and the Outlaws Annual #1.
I love
that book. That dude, besides like 9 fill-in issues by James Tynion in the 4th, that has been all Lobdell for 5 years.
It's 6 years actually, starting this month.
Yeah, coming up on 6 years of him figuring out Red Hood, and this issue was a lot of fun. I picked it up because it's got some dick on the cover. Gotta love me showing me some dick on the cover. It's a Nightwing issue that it's basically about Dick and Jason not really coming to terms, because they kind of have over the past few years. Like there's a great point where Jason's like, "I would have shot him in the back a few years ago. I'm not very proud of that." And it's just about the current trio of the Outlaws of Jason, Artemis the Amazon, and Bizarro, who, brief tangent, I kind of like this group even a little bit more than him, Roy, and Corey. Like, I love Arsenal, I love Starfire, but there's something about this team that it makes them feel more really like outlaws. Like, they're more out there, they're kind of like the ones you don't talk about, except for Artemis, who I guess is just kind of like, oh, she's an outlaw now. But this book is really fun because it's the three of them working in the circus, and it's pretty much just that for 40 pages. It's them like really talking to each other, having these small conversations. It's Bizarro being adorable and charming. He's been wearing a pair of overalls lately, and he's like this big, massive Bizarro dude in these overalls. And it's just it's a collection of just fun, small scenes between the trio and Dick. And like they hire Dick there because they're running the circus and they need him to play a role, and he has to play like this super silly clown character, and Dick's like, all right, I'll do that. And most of it's just Jason being like, well, things can't always be the way they were, but I get along with Dick now. We had some good flashbacks to when like he first joined, when Jason first became Robin, and there was a lot of tension. But this whole thing was really charming. Like, there's a really, really good scene between Artemis and Dick where they just kind of like talk about not where they've come from, but like just the struggle kind of Jason and the struggle of knowing people in difficult situations and just like being able to see them grow. And there's this great scene where Artemis and Dick are going off, and Jason just snarking. He's like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to show you my muscles. Why don't you look at all my muscles?" It's yeah, let's share that. And it's just a lot of it's fun, it's cute, and it's sweet.
Mm-hmm. I liked it too.
Yeah, I think Scott Lobdell's really he's really figured out the voice of these characters and figured out what he's good at with them. You know, Scott.
He's a great Nightwing. He's a great Nightwing.
Yeah, and I think I want to go back to what you said about the team being better than with Speedy and Corey. I will always call Roy Harper Speedy. By the way,
he's Speedy.
Speedy is the best superhero name in the history of comics. Everybody who has been Speedy is still Speedy in my mind. Anyway,
he's the Flash's sidekick. Fast one, Speedy.
Which just doesn't make sense. So the thing with that one was that book always felt a little forced because so much of Roy's story from the Bronze Age through Flashpoint, basically until Flashpoint, was him getting over his own darkness,
right?
Being better than the outlaw he was, and Starfire is just a sweetheart with a heart of gold. Like Starfire, like she has an angry streak to her sometimes, but she's never really had much of a dark streak to her.
Yeah.
So when all of a sudden they've got to be brought to Jason's level of I've died and come back, and my dad didn't kill the guy who killed me, and he has just 3 more sons now, like, yeah, it felt forced. Whereas with Bizarro, he's already a villain, and Artemis is usually the angry Amazon, so it's not much of a tweak to make her, she's not even that much of an outlaw. These guys aren't bad guys. They just call themselves the Outlaws. They do superhero shit.
Mm-hmm.
They just do it while working for Black Mask in the first arc, so that's why they get called Outlaws.
And he got to rip off his stupid bondage mask, which was great.
Oh, it's the worst mask. I hate that mask so much.
Oh, also KG Beast is in this issue. Who's
hell yeah!
Oh yeah!
I forgot about something. We got the Beast, who's just written very well. He's like, I am the Beast now. I am not connected to any foreign nation. I am doing what the Beast does. And he's just, as we've kind of seen in All-Star Batman, this unstoppable just machine of being really good at shit that only gets thrown off when like some dick gets put in his face at the last moment. It was a fun annual.
I agree, and I like how Jason does better with teams, and he's still kind of emotionally immature, which is what I love about Jason. He's got some major hang-ups and doesn't handle them very well, despite how badass he is in fighting. When it comes to teamwork or relationships, you can tell where he really struggles. That's what I really love about Red Hood and the Outlaws, even the old 52 version. Yeah. And they really, and I loved Bizarro in this issue with his like crush on the bearded lady thing, and he was like an adorable Hulk to me.
Yeah. So you've been reading the book, Scott. Does he still mean opposite things or no? Because I couldn't tell if that was the joke when he called her beautiful.
There are no rules with Bizarro. You're asking Bizarro questions that you're not supposed to ask, Reed. Now, honestly, it's actually always bugged me with Bizarro that, like, it's so hard to find a consistency for what it is. In general, this character is more like animated Bizarro or Injustice Bizarro, where he's more slow than he is backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was getting that by myself.
Yeah, I have not read the annual, so I can't speak on the context of Bizarro, but I would guess that like he actually finds the bearded lady beautiful.
Yeah. And like I don't remember what it is, but there's like one line later on in the book like that definitely is supposed to be backwards. So that's when it's like then it got to me and I'm like, what does this mean though?
That was the Speed Force Bizarro.
That's Speed Force.
Oh, Speed Force. Speed Force just like fucked up your camera for a second.
Yes, I moved quickly.
Yes. like with speed.
Speed Force.
Speed Force. All right, Red Hood, and I'm going to talk about an annual myself here, which is the Supergirl annual. This week is the 5th Wednesday of the month. Well, now it's September, but Wednesday was the 5th Wednesday of the month. When that happens, DC usually kind of has a really light week. and they will often do annuals or special issues that week, which is what happened this week. So I kind of feel bad. I gotta. What is it? Post a retraction of last week's podcast when I was talking shit about Emerald Empress not being in Supergirl, because I was behind on Supergirl and I got caught up, and she's been like the last 5 issues.
Yeah.
So before this current arc, Supergirl was in the Phantom Zone with Batgirl fighting the Phantom King. While that happened, Emerald Empress went around, and I guess actually that started because she was attacked by Magog. Emerald Empress has gone around and gathered a new Fatal 5. And these Fatal 5 attack Supergirl because Emerald Empress has seen the future, as she claims, and believes that the downfall of her and her family will be brought upon by Supergirl. She tells the Fatal 5 that the same is true for them, which we learn in this issue is total bullshit. The Fatal 5 have nothing to worry about Supergirl, but since Emerald Empress is from the future, they've convinced her of that. And so I dig the Fatal 5 that they've put together because they're all kind of parallels of the original team. How the original team, you had a big, silent, Hulk, giant, strong guy named Validus. That's Solomon Grundy. You have the Persuader, who's like mostly naked except for all of the ridiculous armor he's wearing, and he has a giant axe. That's Magog with his giant spear.
Oh, Magog.
You've got Tharok, who is split exactly down the middle and is half human, half robot, who is hilarious.
I love Tharok.
That's Indigo, because she's a brainiac, right? So we've got a robot there. Emerald Empress, that's Emerald Empress. And then you have Mano, who has magical hands that nobody gives a fuck about. So you just replace her with this Selena woman, because who gives a fuck about Mano? So that's our new Fatal 5, and I thought that was really cool. I also, like, here's a new villain that's introduced along these other 4 existing ones. That's a good way to, like, actually put in new characters in a way that will get read by people.
Right.
So I'm really curious to see what the plan is with Selena, because for now she's this powerful woman who's been duped by Emerald Empress, and this feels like the kind of thing Steve Orlando is putting in here, because she's like, when this arc is done, I don't think this character will be.
Yeah, he's been really good about that. That's a lot of the stuff he's doing in JLA too. Yeah. He doesn't write for the trade. He writes for like, I'm gonna have these characters, they're gonna come in and out, like, right, serially.
Speaking of JLA, this is a side tangent. I have a theory. Well, like, we can get to that. We could talk about JLA. JLA 13 came out this week, and so that wasn't on the docket for today. But I want to talk about something real quick, which is I have a theory about one of the characters. So,
okay,
I'm interested. The Ray is living back home in Happy Harbor with
Xenos.
With what's his name?
Xenos.
Yes. So this is this new character, Xenos, who is the Ray's boyfriend, and hangs out and is very nice, hanging out with the
very
Justice
nice, very
League
pleasant,
and dating the Ray.
Scott, are you going where I think you're going with this?
Back up.
I know, I'm not going to say it.
Too much. You know where I'm going with this.
I know where you're going with this.
What if he's Prometheus?
What if he's Prometheus?
So,
oh, she's done it again!
Okay, we knew this was going to happen. Reed and I have talked about how this was going to happen on the show, and we were going to have to explain this to Erin and to anybody who happens to be listening. Reed and I have had a inside joke for years about Prometheus, because Reed was never a huge fan of the character. I didn't mind him that much. But neither of us were that passionate about it that it would just be a joke that we would talk shit about liking or hating Prometheus.
Yeah, like, hey, he'll show up this time. He's going to show up in Flash this week.
Yeah, so, and, Prometheus was from Grant Morrison's JLA. He was trying to be the Batman of villains. And when he joined the JLA, he pretended to be a good guy, and then turned and, like, fucked up the whole JLA and was a bad guy.
Yeah.
Then, in the New 52, in Midnighter, which Midnighter was a brilliant series, also by Steve Orlando, by the way. You should definitely check out Midnighter. I can't recommend it enough. In that, Midnighter had a boyfriend he was living with, they were a great couple, and Reed and I were very invested in them. And then all of a sudden, boom! That guy is Prometheus. And then, like, weeks later, Prometheus is cast on Arrow to be the villain for season 5.
I sent Scott a very worrying series of messages, which I believe were just Scott, in all caps, Scott, it's like 3 series of H, and you just went, "Are you okay?" It's like, no. I show him the link, Prometheus. And of course, he wasn't Prometheus.
So someday, one day, the comic gods give us this gift that expands our joke so well, and so Prometheus is now, all of a sudden it's the age of Prometheus. Lots of jokes about Prometheus. Spoiler tag is up right now because on one of the covers of an upcoming issue of JLA is Prometheus's helmet.
Yeah, and like his face, we see like the upper.
Okay, yeah, because it shows his mouth, but it's Prometheus, right? Prometheus is coming to JLA, so.
Oh God, he's gonna do it again.
He's usually hiding, like that's his MO, is to join the heroes, sometimes by hooking up with them, and do that. I also think that would be cool because that would also. Like, as it is now, it's possible Prometheus was just sleeping with Midnighter to get close to him. But if he uses the same MO on the Ray, it actually kind of solidifies him as a gay character to me.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
Which, we just need more of those in general. So, Prometheus could be one of them.
Oh, Prometheus.
So, I just, sorry, that came up and it just blew my mind. And I was like, I have to blow your mind.
To try to give it a chance again. I've tried a couple issues and...
The current arc isn't great. The current arc they're in the microverse, they're looking for Ray Palmer, and they thought they found Ray Palmer, but they didn't. They found someone who's a friend of Ray Palmer, but oh no, then they're not the Ray Palmer, and at the end of the issue, Ryan Choi goes down to Shrink to talk to a planet. And it's fine. I like the way Steve Orlando writes dialogue, I like the way he does his stories, but just this arc, it didn't really catch me.
Yeah,
Lord Havoc was fun, but went on for a bit long.
Yeah, I think that the character work is a lot better than the plot work in this book.
Yeah.
Because, I really like the way he writes these characters. I also like seeing these characters be bigger. I love what they're doing with Vixen right now. I've been following Killer Frost's journey to good guyness for like the last 5 years, so that's fun to see it finally happen. Yeah, I really thought they were going to abandon that and just make her a bad guy again, but no, they've really been trying to make Killer Frost sympathetic and heroic, which, if it could be a legit Emma Frost shift where she actually is a hero for a long time, I love seeing that happen, and usually the companies don't commit to that. Like, they just failed to with Emma Frost.
Especially because, thankfully, with this thing that helps is, this is Caitlin Snow. This is, I don't remember what her original name is, but this is the new 52 different character who's named Killer Frost.
Yeah,
so they've
been
able
Louise
to,
Lincoln.
Yeah, I figured that much. And I actually have really liked Killer Frost, how they introduced her in Justice League, versus Suicide Squad, and even with the JLA, she's the strongest character. The rest of them, it just... I don't know, like, I read so many issues that it's got to really grab me to keep my attention, and JLA even for the first several didn't.
Lobo was underused, and underused Lobo is disappointing.
Yeah,
I can agree there.
Yeah, I think that Lobo...
It just seemed to me like the first few issues, which is where I kind of lost track of it. It was like a little junior high version of Suicide Squad, so I was just like, I'll have to try it again, though.
I think part of why I'm digging it is that I do think, for better or for worse, it's still miles ahead of the Justice League title that Brian Hitch is writing.
Oh yeah.
So and like I'm the kind of guy that I'm always going to read Justice League, whether it's good or bad. It's the Justice League, so I'm going to read them. And so to have one that's at least not that is a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I can agree with you there.
The current League of Justice League is called Legacy.
I know that they've been throwing that out there, like next year, or is it? Yeah. The end of this year? Oh no, thank God.
He's coming off soon.
Yeah, it's soon though. He's going to be done eventually. So.
And he's taking over JLA again. Ha ha!
Now he's going back to art. He's going to do the art on Hawkman Found, and I like Brian Hitch's art sometimes. I think he's a little blown out of proportion. I saw on Twitter the other day that he's a huge fan of Michael Bay. And he loves Michael Bay's movies, and I was like, that makes so much sense. Everything makes sense now.
So much! Like, logistically, too, because that's the dude who created the idea of widescreen comics, which, for anyone who doesn't know, that's a term that means, like, comics being shot like action movies. Like, The Authority, him with Warren Ellis, like that was the first real example of a widescreen comic, because it was like this book that would just have these long, wide, arcing scenes, showing like explosions everywhere, very cinematic, like a Michael Bay movie, like Pearl Harbor or something.
Yeah, like of course, there's the famous 8-page fold out from Ultimates of like all of the Ultimates fighting and that giant thing. So like it makes sense. That's what Brian Hitch is good at. So yeah, he's not. Maybe co-plotting for him. Like I could a lot of the Justice League that he's been doing has started out with really good ideas and then just failed to execute.
Yeah.
So, it's a shame. Well, anyway, that wraps up our Supergirl talk.
Yeah. So, Erin, you had another book to go on to.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up a favorite trade that's been out for a little bit. I think the trade came out in January 2016. It's written by Gail Simone and a whole bunch of female writers and female artists. And it was Dynamite, basically taking all these characters from pulp novels and pulp comics and just random stuff that they don't own these titles. They had to get them licensed by the owners, but it was an awesome mashup of all these female heroines fighting this one bad guy. So you've got, Jungle Girl, you've got Red Sonja in it. You've got Deja Thomas from the John Carter. You have Masquerade, Kato. You have who is I'm trying to remember his name. One of the sidekicks of one of the indie brands. And then you have Black Sparrow, Lady Zorro. I mean, the list goes on. And then they have Chaos characters in it, which I fucking love Chaos comics. Who does not like Purgatory and Chastity and Lady Hella and everything? And basically, the premises of the whole arc where they're fighting against this guy is a little cheesy because of who they reveal who he is at the end, which I'm not going to reveal. You need to go read the comics. The best part of it was it was a massive mashup of these characters. So basically you have this villain that is kind of like a Thanos character. He's trying to rewrite reality. And he basically, by doing this and creating these powers, he bleeds realities into one another. So these characters still exist in their own universes, but portals start like popping up all over the place. So like Vampirella randomly ends up on Mars where there's a T-Rex, or Red Sonja ends up in New York City in 1920, or just like the Green Hornets, Kato ends up with Masquerade, who is kind of like she can possess people and read their memories and stuff. And it was just badass.
I would read a whole ongoing series for like 60 issues of Red Sonja in 1920s New York.
Oh my god!
I would read the fuck out of Sonja Noir. That'd be amazing.
They had the wife of Tarzan. She called herself Lady Greystoke, and then they had Irene Adler from Sherlock Holmes. Was in it. And that's what most of the crossover was just pairing up two of them and like letting them get to know one another. They had Jennifer Blood, which is a sort of unknown character. She's basically like a housewife by day, but a female vigilante by night. She kills bad guys. Mm-hmm. And it was just really interesting seeing, that was most of what it was. The actual combined together fighting was only 6 issues. And of course they defeat the villains in this. And the guy in it that's evil, they call him the Prince, and they reveal who he is at the end, and you're kind of like, really? That was the only thing I didn't like about it.
Is it?
But,
wait, is it Prince Charming?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that was the only
Spoilers.
part. I was just like, oh my god, you totally.
Call that!
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And he basically was like an evil sorcerer in this, and like, it was really weird, like sadomasochist. Like he'd walk around and he'd slit his wrists, and then he would create what he called shardmen, which are evil, soulless creatures that they would fight. It was just really so that they had yard trash to kill in between comics. But he basically got Bad Kitty, who is like a bipolar lady who just goes, she's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde character, Chastity, Purgatory, and Lady Hell, and kind of promises them like, whatever you want, what's your greatest dream? I will make it reality if I get all these powers. And so that's the only reason they really join up with him. I love Purgatory. She's my favorite character of all time when it comes to Chaos Comics. And because this is a female-led comic, they didn't have Evil Ernie, which was kind of sad because I love Evil Ernie. But it was really just, and they left it open-ended. So they have these swords that they get called the Swords of Sorrow, which kind of allows them to travel through the different realities and fight this guy and his minions and these bad chicks. And at the end of it, they kind of left it open where the lady that gives them the swords is like, oops, shit, I kind of fucked up. Now you're permanently bonded to one another. So they leave it open so that they can travel between universes in a future series if they want. But it was just, it was just really, people in metal bikinis fighting T-Rexes and Shardmen and basically fighting each other because they didn't know what the hell was going on for most of it. It was just so much fun. I mean, don't read it for seriousness, but it was, come on, Red Sonja going up against, like, the Princess of Mars. How can you not like that? It was
that
awesome.
Sounds awesome. And that's what, like, Dynamite is, it's what they do, and it's what they're great at, is we have these licenses that we've acquired. Let's just smash them together and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it can be a lot of fun. And Gail Simone's great.
Yes, she led the main, like, overarching series, but a lot of the one-shots, which was the pairings of them, they brought in a lot of other female writers and artists, so it was just neat to kind of pay homage to females. Like, you see a lot of, like, DC and Marvel do mashups of females, but this was, like, actual female driven, like the female artists. There were some dudes in there, but pretty much written by women in comics, which was awesome.
That's really cool. Yeah, when DC and Marvel do it, they often forget to get women to write or draw it.
Yeah.
That's
they kind of
big mistake.
do that in general, like with the Dark Matter line coming up. Really cool. It's the same 10 guys that have been writing a bunch of DC stuff.
Yeah. It's like Dark Matter is just, hey, we know that Tynion and Snyder sell comics, so they're going to sell you some comics.
Yeah, here's Ray Fox. I think Ray Fox is in there somewhere. It's like, here's the same 10 dudes.
Yeah. The one I've been wanting to check out is the Gotham City Garage. That I think it's digital right now, but they don't bring it out until October. That one looks really freaking awesome.
The first issue, the first digital issue came out last week. Or not last week, 2 weeks ago. So, like, it's not in print yet, but the first digital issue is out, and it was awesome. It felt like amazing. I mean, it felt like reading the beginning of Bombshells again, which that's another one where, like, and that one, like, you have to give DC some credit for having an all-female book written by a woman, but at the same time, you have to remember that was all her. She went to them and was like, this should be a thing. I could just do it all if you want, and they were like, please do. Bombshells is also dope. I'm behind on it, but it's super awesome.
Yeah, and the first issue of the new ongoing launch this week, too.
Yeah, it's now Bombshells.
Bombshells United.
Bombshells United is what Bombshells became. Because, you got to rebrand and get number ones out there, because comics.
And actually, kind of, as we said before, Garage is an all-female team, super female girl power team being written by dudes, but it's like, it's still interesting what we got so far.
Who's writing Garage again? Is it?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I want to say it's like Jimmy Palmiotti or Frank Thierry or something like that, but both of those sound wrong.
I think it's Frank Thierry. It's not Palmiotti. Because that dude writes, he writes Jonah Hex every few years. He writes some Freedom Fighters.
Yeah, he had like a stint on the Freedom Fighters more than anything else.
He had like 3 separate miniseries.
Oh yeah, but it was all like for 5 years he did all the Freedom Fighters, and that was it.
Yeah.
It's written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, who do an excellent book on on Boom called Joyride.
Okay, yeah, the Joyride team. Oh, yeah, they did the Grayson.
Yeah, they did the last 4 or 5 issues of Grayson when Tom King and Tim Seeley went off to set up Rebirth. And they did a great job coming on that book and keeping its voice and keeping its humor. And then Joyride has that similar voice and humor and giant space whales. It's great. And beautiful art. The art is so pretty in Joyride. The colors are stunning. Speaking of Boombox, Reed, I only got halfway through this book before we had to record. But this book you wanted to check out.
Yeah, this is another kind of like a self-described, another one of Boom's books in their teen girl series. It's called Hi-Fi Fight Club. It is by Carly Ustin and, I don't know how to say the person's name, I believe it's Nina Vacueva. And it is set in 1999. And much like a bunch of Boom's kind of like books like this, like Lumberjanes, like it's about usually a bunch of 17-year-old girls, starring Chris, working in a record shop. And I'm not going to necessarily get into the spoilers for you, Scott, because it has a really cool thing at the end. But it's another just really, really pretty to start with. Like, I love the art on this book. The thing that noticed this was I was browsing Bleeding Cool, as I usually try not to do. And the ad they had on the back was, it was for Hi-Fi Fight Club. And I just saw this instantly. I'm like, oh, it is gorgeous. I hope the book looks like this. It was one of those things kind of like where early on with Gotham Academy, sometimes like there'd be different teams doing the cover when Carl Castle left. Like some people were doing the cover and then it's not the same as the interiors. But like the whole book for Fight Club is just absolutely gorgeous. It's this very pastel look with kind of like cartoony facial expressions sometimes, but usually just like very unmodeled, very, very cute characters. And it's about these 5 girls led by this one Chris, who's kind of like, she's the tomboy type. Then you have the goth girl type, you have the girly girl type, and it's just really cute. Them kind of like talking to each other, and it's just a start of like working in a record shop in 1999, and teens doing their cute thing, being teens. And it was just one of those feel good books that also captures the way young characters talk really well. It just, or not necessarily the way they talk, because I don't remember what I talked like when I was 18, but it has these very fun dynamics in the way these characters interact. And the reason the book is called Fight Club, you find out eventually, but it was a really, really interesting book, and I enjoyed it a lot. And you read this one too, right, Erin?
Yes, I did. I loved it. I liked how all the characters were distinct, because sometimes I feel like they get lazy when they're drawing and everybody looks kind of the same. Except they're colored different. This one, they were very distinct, which I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was cute. Yeah, the art is really great on this book.
The art is gorgeous.
I thought it was fun, but I have to say, it threw me a little bit because when I was a teenager, music was my thing. I was one of these kids when I was a teenager. Right. It was all music all the time. I didn't really discover comics until I was 18. So I thought it was really neat, these people working in a record store, being excited to work in a record store, talking like they work in a record store, except when somebody comes in and says they don't like a piece of music and you yell at them that it's good. Like, that was really disingenuous to me. Like,
and then she got praised for it.
That she got praised for it. And it's less that she yelled at somebody for calling something bad, and more that the thing that she defended, she said it peaked on the Billboard charts, which means it was really popular. So, like,
right.
If that person came in and was like, this Mott the Hoople record is shit, I would have believed it if she was like, hey, don't you talk shit about Mott the Hoople. But what it looked like to me was somebody came in and was like, ugh, Taylor Swift, and this girl who I thought was this hipster record store girl was like, don't you dare talk shit about Taylor Swift. And I was like, come on. Come on. I get this really hipster vibe from this record store, and you're defending the most popular artist of the time?
Yeah.
That just set my music geek off, and it bugged me.
That's a good point.
But yeah, you're really right about the characters being distinct. That's really neat. And this is part of why, like, you need to get women to write these books. There's 3 17-year-old girls and a 24-year-old. Those are our main cast. Most writers write those 4 people basically the same. You know what I mean? They're 4, like you'll read a book where, like, if you just change the speech bubbles around character to character, you wouldn't notice. This is not this is not one of those books, and it could have been, you know, if it were made differently and made for a different reason. It's also a Boombox book, which is Boom's like kind of young adult imprint. So because of that, the main character is gay. The main character is always gay in a Boombox books. So yeah, it's cool.
we don't know necessarily that she's lesbian. She's just interested in women. We don't know that
that's
she's
true. She's queer. She's queer, not necessarily gay. So yeah, that's a thing that Boom really cares about.
Yeah, that's part of the thing. It's giving young girls queer characters to read about.
Yeah. A lot of, like, it's weird because I wanted to say this would be a great book to give a young teenager or somebody young who wants to get into comics. But I don't want to. But by saying that, I don't want to say this isn't good if you're an adult and you like comics. Like, it's still a good book that stands up on its own, and is fun. And apparently, you guys can spoil it for me because I'm the one who didn't get his shit together in time. So tell me about the Fight Club part. We're gonna throw the spoiler tag up there.
Yeah. So the actual Fight Club is, at the end, they're going to have this musician perform, but they're not able to get her there. So, like, all right, we'll shut down. We'll do the normal thing. They're like, hey, everyone has to leave because someone got poisoned by a brownie or something like that. And then they're all inviting Chris. They're going down to the shady basement. She's like, what's going on? And Dolores the Gotham's like, all right, are we really doing this? That's going to be great. And the last page is saying, hey, here's the real secret. The real record store here is we're a kick-ass teen vigilante girl fight club.
Because so there's vigilantes as well as just punching each other. So do they punch each other? Or do they punch bad guys? Like, what's the ratio of bad guy to friend punching gonna happen in this book?
Because here's the thing, earlier in the book, I don't remember her name. I think it was not Gloria, but the main girl that Chris is interested in. You see, she has bandages on her hand, and she's like, "Oh yeah, did you get hurt in the bike accident?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I got into a crash or something." Like her hands bandaged up, and then you find out, yeah, it's about a fight club. Yeah, we don't know if they're fighting each other or if they're fighting, but yeah, the exact words are teen girl vigilante fight club.
Awesome.
I'm very sharp.
I really hope the second issue starts with one of them looking at Carla. Is it that name, Carla? Christy.
Chris.
The one I'm looking at Chris and just going, punch me in the face as hard as you can. I want that to be the opening panel right out of Fight Club. Punch me in the face as hard as you can. Be perfect. Man, okay, I'm gonna finish this issue. It seems like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love the art. I love the way they all talk. Love these characters, and it's just that's the thing. It nails them all individually and makes them stand out really, really well.
Cool. Well, that about does it for us here at Comic Watch. I hope you all have enjoyed. You can, of course, please give us a like, a share, a subscribe, all that good stuff that you do on YouTube, or that your people you watch try to get you to do on YouTube. We would appreciate it. You can also always check us out for more content at shootthebreezecomics.com. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook at shootthebreezecomics. All that good stuff. You can check us out. I am joined, of course, by Erin.
Yay!
And by Reed.
Reed strong and feet.
I am Scott. I hope you all enjoyed it. We will be back. Actually, we might not be back next week. We have some things going on next week. You might have a guest cast. We might take the week off. But we will definitely be back in 2 weeks with more comic talk and more nonsense. So until the next time, guys, thanks for watching.
Bye.
Read strong and live long.